So I left off last time with The Rose of England by Nick Lowe. And I did mention that Paul Carrick was working with him on the Rockpile album. Got all that information wrong. He was actually on this album and every other album before, up until Labor of Lust, which I just figured out because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So if you're watching this, which you're probably not, because who's going to watch this, just know that I don't know shit. This one, Pinker and Prouder Than Previous. This is a later Nick Lowe album. I think came out 1988 actually, but sounds like Nick Lowe. One of the best songs on here, or one of my favorites, is called "Wishing Well." It's kind of like a little country rocker, but just, you know, his lyricism is, it's really, really just outstanding. He really knows how to write a song that just connects with, you know, I guess the average person. And it's funny, I went and saw him with my brother at the Troubadour a few years back now, and it was just him. He played for about an hour, just him with the guitar, standing up all night, and which is pretty awesome because, you know, if he was around, you know, at the birth of punk rock, and before that, he's probably in his late 60s, you know. But just amazing, you know, told some stories, played some songs, and when he played his version of Heart, again, like, it was just him playing guitar. It made me well up, you know, like he had just hit a chord. It was just so emotional. And I don't really go see shows. I don't, you know, go see many bands anymore just because I always get let down. But seeing him by himself for an hour, I'd go and see him anytime that he's around, you know. He's awesome. This is an album by Rockpile, which is Nick Lowe, Dave Edmunds. Who else is on here? Terry Williams playing the drums on this. Really, really, really good album. If you ever see this, just pick it up because every song on here is great. Has that other version of Heart, like a full band. Really, really good production. Sounds not dated at all. Sounds really contemporary. Holds up to the test. And they did put out another album, which is really hard to find, under the name of Little Village. And I think that had to do with... it's basically the Rockpile band, but they had to put it under a different name because every artist collectively that made this group was all under different record contracts at the time, and they couldn't put it out as this because of all that, you know, record company bullshit where just the artists are just, you know, just let them make their art and, you know, put it out and shut up and wear your ties and, you know, go cash your checks. But let artists be artists. This is ties into the family. This is an album by a group called The Rumor, and this is the guitar player from the Brinsley Schwarz, and his name is Brinsley Schwarz. I didn't mention that before. Kind of weird that they named the band after his name, but it is a pretty, you know, unusual name. Really good guitar player. They put out a couple records. This was the backup band for Graham Parker, and they put out a couple albums before they hooked up with Graham Parker, and this has Stephen Golding's playing the drums, and he's the drummer, you know, that played on a lot of Elvis Costello's famous songs, and it's kind of a whole little, you know, scene right there based around Stiff Records, even though this is on Stiff Records, but just, you know, like all these cats getting together and creating a scene coming out of it. They start getting a little notoriety, and they start putting out records in the States on different labels, and, you know, this is just some of the stuff that came out of it. But this is a good record. It's called Frogs, Sprouts, Clogs, and Krauts. Really, really good. I just saw this out. I used to see this cover a lot, digging through crates, and one day I just picked it up because it was like, I don't know, maybe $4 or $5, and it's good, man. It's like, you know, kind of power pop. There's another one by The Rumor. This album is called Max. And funny story behind the name of this album, at the same time, or around the same time, Fleetwood Mac put out Rumors. So this group, you know, thought it would be funny to title their album Max, which, you know, instead of Fleetwood Mac putting out Rumors, they're the Rumor putting out an album called Max. And I think that was Nick Lowe's idea to put that out because he always had that little cleverness. And, you know, this is one that who's even going to know that little fact, and how many people have Rumors by Fleetwood Mac as opposed to Max by the Rumor? Go figure. But this album, I don't know, I haven't really given it a fair shot, but I just picked it up to be, you know, compliant with collecting as much as I can from all these weird, obscure bands that I've come to grow fond of over the time, and it's all right. It's another one by them. It's called The Purity of Essence, The Rumor. Nice shot of Steve Golding right there on the cover. You know, a little more power pop. But again, another album that I haven't really given its fair listen to, but you know, I have it, so I'll check it out when I get around to it. Or maybe I won't, man. I don't fucking know. But anyways, here's Graham Parker in The Rumor. This album's called Stick to Me. Graham Parker, he is, you know, a lot of times, I guess, seen as a second-rate Elvis Costello, but he kind of came out a little bit before him, and he's got his own little swagger and attitude, and there's something about his style that I don't know who came first, him or Stiv Bators, but I think it was Graham Parker that came up with that look first, you know, just real skinny and looked like he was going to die and had those glasses and just, you know, kind of had a duck face and just had that snotty attitude. But who knows who ripped off who at those times. There was a lot of, you know, things going back and forth between the East Coast and you know, across the pond, as they call it. But whatever, you know, Graham Parker. It's an album by the Inmates, another, I guess, like second-tier pub rock band. Saw some good footage of them on this television show in France called Chorus TV, which you can look it up on YouTube, and there's a lot of good live performances. It's kind of like an old Grey Whistle Test. The ones that I found on there is really good XTC little show where they play like 3 or 4 songs. I think the Ramones have a spot on there. The Inmates, Dr. Feelgood, a couple other bands, but it's pretty cool. It's called Chorus. It was a television show in France, kind of like the old Grey Whistle Test or like Rock Palace in Germany. You know, like I guess the modern day in the 70s versions of like Shindig and the Hullabaloo, whatever, you know, just showcasing like new bands and stuff. But the Inmates, you know, I picked it up because it looked like it was going to be like a kind of power poppy, pub rocky, and I kind of struck gold because that's what it is. And it was cheap, and you can find it pretty easily, and it's pretty good. It's, you know, it's a good album. This was a nice find. This band Burlesque. Now this is a little more interesting. It's definitely a branch of pub rock, and it's kind of arty. It's kind of I don't know, kind of Gang of Four, kind of Roxy Music. Some of that stuff sounds like a modern day, like, you know, like maybe a band like Chick 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 or something, if you like that kind of thing. Or some of the other, you know, I don't know, Block Party, like those, basically the bands that were trying to rip off Gang of Four. This is a really, really good album. It almost has like some break beats on there, but it's, you know, it's pub rock, art rock. I've only ever seen or heard of this album, and then they have another live album that has like a black chick, kind of Grace Jonesy looking, but I think that's live, and I don't know. I have a thing with live albums. I'll get to it when I get to some of my collection. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. Used to like live albums a lot, and now, you know, with lesser-known bands, I want to know what they did in the studios. So now I'm getting into a little proto-punk, and this album is by a band called the Flaming Groovies. This is an album called Flamingo, and this is when they had God, what the hell's his name? Roy Loney, their singer. Awesome album. Early Flaming Groovies. I think this is like their second or maybe third record. Song on here, what is it? Texas. Heading for the Texas border, just fuel driven, ride down the road, you know, with your hands in the air, rock and roll, just awesome, like proto punk. And then this other song, She's Falling Apart, it's total, like, kind of like Beach Boysy, gothic, really eerie. This album displays a lot of what the Flaming Groovies were going to come about and do later, you know, with their power pop, with their proto punk, with their just amazing, you know, Birds esque sensibilities, and just, you know, just fucking awesome band. But Flamingo, yeah, this album rules. Got really excited. My wife actually bought this for me on my birthday and surprised me because I had it in a hold pile at this record store, and I went to go pick it up and it wasn't there, and then I got home my birthday and then it was there because she bought it for me. Awesome surprise. Love that record. This is the first one I found by them, the Flaming Groovies Now. This is really birdsy. Just look at that cover. It's like, that's... How can you not want to buy that record? Like, it's awesome. This original pressing on Sire. First song is a Birds cover, Feel a Whole Lot Better, you know, written by Gene Clark. I found this at a record show that I used to go to when I was in high school. And it was one of those times I just watched this PBS punk rock special, which I've never been able to find again, but it was really, really awesome. Really more complete than like anything else I had seen at the time. This was in the, I don't know, early 90s. And I just got so lucky, you know how it is, like when you hear about a handful of new bands, and when you go out record shopping and you just find everything that is fresh in your mind, you know, like a lot of times, I don't know how it is for you guys, but, you know, I used to write lists, and then as soon as I walk into the store, I don't remember anything, and the list, I don't even remember that I had the list, because it's like, oh my God, there's just so much stuff. I'm so inundated with information, and I don't even know what I came in here for. But I remember walking in, and I found, like, everything. I found television, I found Modern Lovers, and I saw the Flaming Groovies. I saw this record, I picked it up, and it's awesome. It's amazing. Don't Put Me On, that's one of my favorite tracks on there. Really, really nice and somber, just beautiful, like, pop song, you know. Shake Some Action, this is one of their more popular ones. There was some bad cover in that movie Clueless with Alicia Silverstone, who feeds her baby like a bird, whatever that means. But they did a horrible cover of it, but this song, Shake Some Action, is good enough for you to pick up this album if you ever see it. It's just, you know, it's great. And this band was just putting out great record after great record, and why they never became bigger than they did, who knows? You know, you have to ask Cyril Jordan about that, but whatever, their credibility is going to stand the test of time, whether people know who they are or not, because they're just awesome. This album, Jumpin' in the Night, just another fucking awesome album. Flaming Groovies, their band's changing a little bit. They definitely don't have Roy Loney anymore. I think Chris Wilson was the guy who took over vocal duties, but they just kept getting better and better, you know, more refined, and, you know, still on Sire. And I don't know when they actually fizzled out. I think that last one I just showed you came out in like 77 to 78, but whatever. This album was really exciting when I found and heard about it. It's about death. This is obviously a reissue because I don't think they ever put out a proper album. It's called For the Whole World to See. One of those bands where I guess it was Jello Biafra that found out about them because he, you know, saw some single, or it was a single that they put out, and he heard it, and it just blew his mind. He was like, oh my God, I got to learn more about this band. And it turns out that, you know, it was these three black guys, brothers, all brothers from Detroit, that were, you know, this came out in like 75 when they put out that single, and this is like, it sounds like Bad Brains, like, you know, 4 or 5 years before Bad Brains. You know, these guys just ripping through like this music, and these songs are just amazing. You know, it's like Husker Du, it's like Bad Brains. It's just more proof that, you know, black musicians are better at fucking music, and that's why, you know, there'd be no rock and roll without Chuck Berry and Little Richard and, you know, whatever. I gotta stop this.